You keep whispering to the heavens, hoping they'll whisper back. You light your candles, close your eyes, and send words into the void asking for signs, for strength, for salvation. But the sky remains silent. The stars don't rearrange themselves into messages. The thunder doesn't speak your name. You think you're being ignored, but you're not. You're being watched, listened to, measured, because the gods don't answer words, they answer action. They don't reward prayer, they reward proof. Every time you ask for help without moving, the silence grows heavier. It's not rejection, it's a reminder. A reminder that the universe doesn't bow to words. It bends to will. The ancients knew this. The old world was carved by those who didn't wait for blessings. They became them. Leonidas didn't kneel before his battle. He prepared for it. Odysseus didn't beg for the sea to calm. He sailed through it. They didn't wait for the gods to do what they could do themselves. They acted, and through their action, they honored the divine. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that truth. We learned to mistake praying for doing. We convinced ourselves that waiting was wisdom, that stillness was faith. But there's a fine line between patience and paralysis, between belief and dependence, between humility and fear. You weren't created to be passive. The breath in your lungs was not meant for begging. It was meant for building. The strength in your body wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant for conquest. The gods crafted you in their image not so you'd worship their power, but so you'd wield it. They gave you the tools, discipline, pain, endurance, and then they stepped back to see what you'd do with them. You keep asking for signs, but the signs were already given. The fire in your chest that refuses to go out. The hunger in your soul that won't let you rest. The storm that keeps returning no matter how many times you escape it. That's not punishment. That's potential calling your name. That's the divine telling you, prove it. Prove you want this more than your comfort. Prove you're willing to move when no one's watching. Prove you'll keep going when no one believes. Because faith that only exists when it's easy isn't faith at all. Anyone can say they believe when the path is clear and the rewards are visible. The gods look for the ones who keep walking when the light fades. The ones who fight through the dark without knowing if the dawn will ever come. That's where proof is found. Not in words, but in movement. When you show up tired. When you stay humble in victory and relentless in defeat. When you choose discipline over distraction, persistence over pleasure, growth over ease. Every drop of sweat, every scar, every sleepless night, that's prayer in its purest form. That's how warriors pray. Through motion, through effort, through proof. Maybe the gods are silent not because they don't care, but because they're waiting to see if you do. Waiting to see if you'll keep going without applause. Waiting to see if you'll fight when no one says your name, because when you finally move, when you decide to stop asking and start acting, the entire universe shifts. The same silence that once felt cold suddenly feels sacred. You begin to understand that it was never about words. It was always about becoming. Stop waiting for the gods to move mountains. Show them you can climb. Stop asking for the storm to end. Show them you can stand through it. Stop praying for miracles. Become one. The gods don't care how loud you pray. They care how hard you fight. They don't care how many times you ask. They care how many times you rise. They don't bless the ones who wait. They bless the ones who prove. And when you finally decide to move, when your blood carries purpose, and your body becomes the instrument of your will, something divine happens. The silence breaks, not through thunder, not through miracles, but through motion, through progress, through transformation. That's when you realize the truth. The gods were never absent. They were watching, always, and now they see something worth answering. Now they see proof. The gods don't send answers. They send obstacles. They don't send comfort. They send chaos. They don't give signs. They give struggle, because struggle reveals what belief cannot. Pain uncovers what prayer hides. When everything breaks, you see what you're really made of. Not what you say you are, but what you prove. You've mistaken hardship for rejection, but it's not rejection. It's recognition. The gods do not test the weak. They test the chosen. They throw storms at those they trust can stand in them. The trials you face aren't punishment. They're permission. Permission to rise, to earn, to evolve. Every difficulty is an initiation into something higher. The weak call it unfair. The strong call it divine training. Every challenge you endure carves you into something the gods can use. Every fall strips away the false layers, ego, fear, laziness, until what's left is pure will. You asked for strength, so they gave you struggle. You asked for wisdom, so they gave you failure. You asked for peace, so they gave you storms. The gods don't hand out what you want. They hand out what you need, because what you need will forge you into the kind of person who can handle what you ask for. When you say you want greatness, they don't give you glory. They give you a mountain. They step back and wait. They want to see if you'll climb or quit. They want to see if your words have weight, and most people fail the test. They ask for the fire and then run from the heat. They pray for change but never act differently. They talk about faith but crumble at the first sign of difficulty. But not you. You're here because something in you refuses to yield. You've already survived storms that were meant to break you. You've already been through nights that would have ended others. You've been tempered by pain, refined by failure, baptized by endurance. The gods are not cruel, Dina, they are craftsmen. And you are their work in progress. Every loss, every scar, every sleepless night, tools in their hands. They're shaping you for something larger than comfort. They're building you into proof. Proof that pain can create purpose. Proof that chaos can produce clarity. Proof that discipline is a divine act. Most people wait for signs to believe they're chosen. But the chosen already know. They believe first, then prove it. You've been waiting for a miracle when you were meant to be the miracle. The proof they want isn't perfection, it's perseverance. They don't expect you to never fall. They expect you to never stay down. Every time you rise, they see it. Every time you push through exhaustion, they mark it. Every time you silence fear with action, they take note. Because the divine doesn't live in temples or skies. It lives in the moments you refuse to quit. It lives in the days you keep going despite the pain, despite the silence, despite the doubt. It lives in you, and if you listen closely, you can feel it. That pressure in your chest when you know you were meant for more. That ache that won't let you rest. That inner voice that says, keep going. That's not your ego. That's your calling. That's the God speaking through the only language they trust. Struggle. If they answered your prayers too soon, you'd never grow. If they gave you victory too easily, you'd never value it. That's why they test you, to make sure you're worthy of what you want. When they see you rising without reward, fighting without witnesses, enduring without guarantees, that's when they begin to believe in you. That's when they whisper your name among the stars. Every hero the world remembers was tested first. Hercules faced 12 labors before his name became legend. Achilles was molded in hardship before he set foot in Troy. Leonidas trained in pain before he stood at Thermopylae. They didn't wait for divine favor. They proved they deserved it, and so must you. When life hits you hard, don't curse the heavens. Thank them. They've chosen you for fire. They've seen something in you worth testing. Every burden is proof of belief. Every trial is evidence of trust. You think they've turned away, but they're watching closer than ever. Watching the details, your effort, your endurance, your energy. Watching to see if you're still praying for a way out, or if you've finally started proving your way through. The gods have no interest in the easy path. They walk with those who dare to carry the heavy load. Because every time you do, you rise closer to their image, unbreakable, unstoppable, undeniable. That's how divinity is earned, not through requests, but through resistance. Not through pleas, but through persistence. Not through comfort, but through combat. And when you understand this truth, life itself transforms. Every failure becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes opportunity. Every silence becomes sacred. The world doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And that strength is the proof the gods were waiting for all along. There comes a point when belief must turn into behavior, when words stop meaning anything, and your actions become your only language. When prayer stops being what you say, and starts being how you live. Because the gods don't care how beautifully you ask, they care how consistently you act. They don't count your promises, they count your proof. If your faith doesn't show up in your routine, it isn't faith, it's fantasy. The divine doesn't move for dreamers, it moves for doers. Discipline is the new devotion, effort is the new offering, persistence is the new prayer. Every day you wake before the sun and do what others refuse to do, you're worshipping. Every time you resist the comfort that weakens others, you're proving. Every time you finish what you start, even when it hurts, you're honoring something higher than pleasure. You're honoring purpose. The world glorifies talent. The gods glorify tenacity. They don't bless the loud, they bless the loyal. The ones loyal to their craft, their cause, their code. Discipline is divine because it separates mortals from legends. It's what transforms potential into proof. It's the bridge between what you want and what you deserve. Anyone can pray for success. Few can show up every day when no one's watching. Anyone can ask for strength. Few can earn it through repetition, through focus, through pain. The ancient warriors knew this. The Spartans didn't ask the gods to make them strong. They trained until they became gods of discipline themselves. Their sweat was their prayer. Their blood was their sacrifice. Their silence was their faith. That's the lesson most have forgotten. That faith isn't passive, it's practiced. It's not a feeling, it's a form. Faith isn't waiting for the storm to end. It's holding formation while it rages. You want to be favored? Be faithful, not to your comfort, but to your commitment. You want proof of the divine? Look at what happens when you do what you said you'd do long after the mood to do it is gone. That's when transformation begins. That's when the gods start to move through you. They don't live in temples. They live in the tension between what you could do and what you choose to do. They live in the weight you lift, the words you write, the miles you run, the dreams you build. Every act of discipline is a sacred act of defiance. Defiance against weakness, against fear, against the comfort that calls your name every morning. Comfort will always try to seduce you. It will tell you to rest longer, to slow down, to wait for tomorrow. But discipline will whisper back, there is no tomorrow. There is only now. And now is proof. Discipline is the proof that your purpose means more than your pain. It's the proof that you remember who you are, even when no one else does. It's the proof that you trust yourself enough to keep going, even without applause or reward. You want divine favor. Earn it through discipline. You want divine respect. Earn it through restraint. You want divine strength. Earn it through repetition. That's what builds the unbreakable. That's what separates gods from mortals. There's nothing mystical about it. The sacred is in the simple, in doing the hard things well every single day. It's in showing up when your body aches, when your mind screams, when your spirit trembles. Because the gods are not moved by talk, they are moved by tenacity. And every time you choose effort over ease, the divine stirs. Every time you master your emotions, the heavens take note. Every time you sacrifice pleasure for purpose, the world shifts slightly in your favor. Discipline is not punishment. It's proof that you remember your fire. It's a conversation between you and the divine that no one else can hear. It says, I will not waste the strength you gave me. I will not betray the potential you placed within me. I will prove myself worthy. The gods don't need your songs. They need your steps. They don't need your candles. They need your consistency. They don't need your offerings. They need your effort. If you want to feel close to the divine, don't kneel. Stand, move, build. Turn your discipline into your daily act of worship. Turn your persistence into your prayer. Turn your sweat into sacred proof that you were not made for comfort. You were made for conquest. And understand this. The universe doesn't reward the most talented. It rewards the most tenacious. Talent fades when tested. Skill cracks under pressure. But discipline endures. It grows stronger through trial. It becomes its own form of armor, and when the gods look down, they recognize that armor. They see the one who didn't quit, the one who proved themselves when others prayed for relief, the one who turned routine into ritual and motion into meaning. That's how divinity sees you, not as one who asked, but as one who acted, not as one who wished, but as one who worked, not as one who prayed, but as one who proved. There is a moment in every life when the noise dies down and you are left with nothing but the sound of your own breathing. No applause, no guidance, no comfort. Only you and the echo of your heartbeat, steady and stubborn. That is where proof begins. Proof is not born in victory. It's born in silence, in repetition, in the grind that no one celebrates. The fire that forged you never cared about recognition. It cared about refinement. It wanted to see if you would hold your shape when the heat turned unbearable. You call it suffering. The gods call it sculpting. Every hardship is a hammer. Every failure a chisel, carving away what is soft, revealing what is sacred. When the storms come, and they will, they aren't meant to drown you. They are meant to wash off everything that isn't essential. Every scar on your body, every memory that still burns when you close your eyes, is proof that you were chosen for more than ease. Comfort never creates character. Fire does. The world tells you to seek peace, but peace without purpose is paralysis. The universe doesn't test those it plans to ignore. It tests those it intends to trust. When the weight grows heavy, it's not because you are cursed. It's because you are capable. The gods don't throw mountains at the weak. They place them before the strong to see if they'll climb or crumble. Each obstacle is not a blockade. It's a mirror, showing you exactly who you are when the mask of motivation falls away. The proof of the fire is not in how loud you roar when things are easy. It's in how quietly you persist when every reason to stop seems justified. When you wake up and your body aches from yesterday's war, yet you rise anyway. That's proof. When you pour your effort into something no one sees, knowing it may never be enough, that's proof. When you keep your promises to yourself in private, when the temptation to break them would be forgiven by anyone, that's proof. You ask for purpose, and life answers with pressure. You ask for strength, and life answers with struggle. You ask for growth, and life answers with grind. The gods do not hand out power. They hide it inside pain and wait to see who digs deep enough to find it. They don't speak through comfort. They speak through challenge. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it, that quiet whisper inside every hardship. Prove it. Prove that your dream means more than your distractions. Prove that your fire burns longer than your fear. Prove that you are still standing because you decided to, not because circumstances allowed you to. Proof is what separates the chosen from the comfortable. Comfort asks for mercy. Proof demands mastery. There's a reason the ancients worshipped through action. The Spartans proved their devotion through battle. The Stoics proved theirs through endurance. They didn't write about resilience. They lived it. They didn't beg for lighter burdens. They built stronger backs. That is the tradition you've inherited. You don't need incense or offerings. You need integrity. You don't need to recite holy words. You need to honor the ones you've already spoken to yourself. The fire doesn't recognize excuses. It only responds to endurance. There will be days when the proof feels pointless, when every effort seems swallowed by silence. But silence is sacred. It is where transformation takes root. The gods don't clap, they observe. They watch to see if you'll keep the promise when no one reminds you why it mattered. They watch to see if you'll move when the world stands still. They watch to see if the flame you claim to carry still burns when the wind howls. That is the real test, and you will be tempted to quit. You will look at others living easier lives, untouched by the same storms, and wonder why you were chosen for chaos. But remember, the deeper the fire, the purer the gold. Ease never built anything immortal. Struggle is what etches meaning into muscle, depth into mind, and power into spirit. The proof of your fire is not that you survived. It's that you grew stronger in the places that once broke you. Think of every challenge as a forge. Step inside willingly. Let the heat reshape you. Pain is not the end of the process. It's the middle. Every moment of doubt, every ounce of exhaustion is the universe asking you, do you still want it? And your proof must be the answer, not in words but in work. The gods don't demand perfection. They demand presence. Show up when it's inconvenient. Push when it's painful. Believe when belief feels foolish. That's how you turn faith into fire. That's how you convert suffering into strength. That's how you make the divine take notice. Not because you begged, but because you became. When you start to embody the qualities you once prayed for, that's when the energy of creation begins to move through you. You become a living offering, not asking for miracles but serving as one. The proof of the fire is also how you treat others while you burn. Do you lash out or do you illuminate? Do you use your pain as an excuse to wound or as fuel to build empathy? A true warrior doesn't let bitterness define them. They let pain deepen them. They let fire refine them. Compassion forged in struggle is the rarest kind because it understands without judgment. It recognizes the same heat in another soul and silently nods. I know. I've walked through flame too. When you carry that kind of proof, you no longer seek validation. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. It radiates from the way you walk, the way you work, the way you refuse to settle. You stop chasing purpose and start living as purpose. The world begins to bend slightly around that kind of energy. Doors open not by chance but by alignment. People sense it, not arrogance but certainty. The certainty of someone who has been through fire and returned not with ashes but with light. The gods favor the ones who make proof their philosophy, the ones who understand that destiny isn't written in stars, it's carved in effort. That greatness isn't given. It's ground into existence by those who refuse to yield. When you commit to that path, you become untouchable. Life can bruise you, but it cannot break you. It can delay you, but it cannot deny you. Because you have already proven yourself, not to them, but to you. Proof is peace. When you've done the work, when you've given everything, when your intentions and your actions finally align, peace follows like a shadow. You stop asking, will I make it? And start declaring, I'm already becoming it. The outcome stops mattering because the process itself is sacred. You realize that every rep, every step, every scar was worship in motion. You realize you never needed to reach Olympus. You were building it, one disciplined act at a time. That's the secret the gods never said aloud. They don't want worshippers. They want witnesses. Witnesses of their own divine spark living through you. They want proof that creation wasn't wasted. Proof that something immortal still lives in human form, capable of honor, endurance, love, and relentless pursuit of meaning. Every time you rise, you become that proof. Every time you endure, the divine sees itself reflected in you. You are the evidence that greatness didn't die with the ancients. It simply waits to be reawakened. So the next time you face the fire, don't flinch. Step in. Let it remind you who you are. Let it burn away the false comfort that makes mortals forget their strength. Let it test you, temper you, transform you. The gods don't want prayers, they want proof. And the only proof that matters is how you live, how you fight, how you rise. When the night is long and your faith feels small, remember this. The fire still remembers your name. It knows who you are. It knows what you've endured. It knows what you were made for. It will not consume you, it will complete you. Every ember, every scar, every breath you take inside that heat is sacred evidence that you are still in the fight. Still proving, still becoming, and when the morning finally comes and the smoke clears, you will stand there, not unscathed, but undefeated. You will carry the quiet power of someone who no longer asks for miracles, because they are one. There will come a day when the fire fades to embers, and all that's left is silence. No voices from above, no signs from the sky, just you, breathing, wondering if anyone or anything is still watching. That silence is not abandonment, it's graduation. The gods go quiet when they've already spoken through your struggle. They stop answering when you've already become the answer. You'll look around and realize there are no more instructions coming. No more divine intervention. The universe will simply wait, patient and watchful as you decide what to do next. And that decision, that moment, is where proof becomes legacy. The gods do not whisper to the weak. They whisper to the willing. But once you prove yourself, they stop whispering altogether, because they trust you to carry the fire without supervision. They trust that the lessons burned into your spirit will outlast their voices. They trust that you no longer need direction, only destiny. That's when the silence arrives. And for many, that silence feels like loss. You'll pray, but nothing will answer. You'll cry out, but the echo will be your own voice. You'll ask for signs, and the sky will give you none. But that's the test you've been training for. The test of self-trust. The gods aren't gone. They're watching quietly to see what you do when you realize the power is already yours. You see, divinity isn't found in temples or texts. It's found in decision, in the moment you stand alone and still choose to rise. The moment you stop needing proof from above because your proof is below your feet, in the miles you've walked, in the scars you've earned. That's when you've crossed over from believer to embodiment. You stop saying, I hope the gods help me. And you start declaring, they already did. They made me. The silence is your signal that you've been promoted from follower to forger, from seeker to source. The fire that once tested you now belongs to you. You carry it forward, not as a burden, but as a birthright. The gods stand silent because they know you've proven yourself worthy of the same power they once used to shape worlds. And what will you do with it? That is the question that defines the rest of your life. You can waste it on complaints and comparisons, feeding the small parts of yourself that want comfort more than conquest. Or you can wield it like a weapon, not against others, but against your own limitations. You can forge something from that silence, something permanent, something undeniable. The proof is never finished. Every dawn is another chance to demonstrate your devotion through discipline. Every hardship another opportunity to refine your resilience. The gods test those they trust, but once they trust you, they hand you their silence and watch you sculpt your own storm. Most people wait for permission to begin. The powerful give themselves permission. They don't wait for signs, they become signs. They don't seek miracles, they make movements. They don't ask for paths to open. They cut their own through rock and flame. That's how legends are made. That's how mortals ascend. And when you start living like that, when you stop begging for things to get easier and start proving you're strong enough to endure, the universe rearranges itself around your commitment. People start to feel your energy before you speak. Opportunities appear where once there were only obstacles. Because the energy of proof is magnetic, it bends reality toward those who embody it. The gods don't bless the loud, they bless the loyal, the ones who kept going when no one clapped, who stayed steady when everything shook, who built quietly until the world had no choice but to notice. Every act of consistency is a form of worship. Every ounce of effort, a declaration that you still believe in your purpose more than your pain, and it's not about perfection. The proof doesn't demand flawlessness. It demands faithfulness. You will stumble. You will doubt. You will break. But the gods aren't counting your failures, they're measuring your returns. They're watching to see if the fire still lives in you after the fall. Because that's what separates the divine from the defeated. The ability to rise without resentment, to burn without bitterness, to walk through the ruins with resolve still in your chest. The proof of your worth isn't in your words, it's in your resilience. Every comeback, every restart, every quiet, "I'm not done yet," whispered to yourself when no one else believes. That's sacred. The gods don't require temples of marble anymore. They require minds made of steel and hearts that refuse to surrender. So when they go silent, don't curse the heavens. Don't assume you've been forgotten. Smile. You've been entrusted. You've reached the point where you are no longer being tested. You are being trusted with your own power. The silence is your invitation to create, to build, to lead, because what you've proven isn't just strength, it's stewardship. The ability to hold the flame without letting it consume you. The maturity to use your power with purpose, not pride. The humility to keep building even when no one's watching. That's when you understand what it means to be divine. It's not about control over others. It's about command over yourself. To rule your impulses, to govern your emotions, to lead your mind with intention instead of reaction, to serve something greater than comfort, ego, or fear. That's godlike. And here's the truth, the gods never wanted to be worshipped forever. They wanted to be remembered through replication, through you. Every generation needs a few who dare to live with such fire, such focus, such relentless devotion to mastery that the world starts to feel ancient again, alive again, real again. Every generation needs proof that the divine didn't die with myths, it evolved into mindsets. You are that proof. You are the one who rises when others rest. The one who creates when others complain. The one who turns pressure into purpose. That's your proof. Every act of courage, every choice to endure, every time you turn away from comfort and toward growth, that's the moment the heavens remember why they trusted you with fire in the first place. Stop waiting for signs from above. You are the sign. You are the answer to your own prayer. The gods don't want prayers, they want proof. And you standing there, breathing through exhaustion, refusing to fold, becoming something stronger than circumstance, that's proof enough. When your story is told, when your time here is finished, the measure won't be how often you asked, but how often you acted. Not how many times you prayed for mercy, but how many times you became the reason someone else believed again. That's the real offering. That's the legacy. So rise now. Stand taller. Breathe deeper. The fire is still with you, and it still remembers your name. The gods are watching, but not to judge, to witness, to see if the one they trusted has become what they hoped. They are silent, but their silence is not absence. It is reverence. They are waiting as the universe always does for proof. Not proof that you're perfect, proof that you're persistent, proof that you'll continue even in the dark, proof that you remember who you are when no one else does. That's the proof that moves mountains. That's the proof that makes mortals immortal. That's the proof that rewrites destiny. The gods don't want prayers, they want proof. So give it to them. Every day, in every breath, in every battle, in every moment you choose to rise when it would be easier to rest. Because when it's all over, when your fire finally burns out and the gods look upon what you've built, they won't see perfection. They'll see persistence. They'll see proof that one of their own walked among mortals, carrying the flame, unafraid, unwavering, undeniable. And in that moment when the silence breaks, the heavens will whisper one last time, "Well done. You didn't pray for it. You proved it."